Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm recording. Where are you going now?
Just a second.
It's okay. It's fine. I'll edit this part out. Are you good now? Okay.
What's up?
Hi
I'm good.
everyone. Yeah, good. Hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Stayin Live podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about dealing with COVID-19 as a doctor, and we do have a doctor in the house. We have Dr. Savia Ahmed. What's up, doc? I think at this point,
Bro, I don't really know how people used to respond to Bugs Bunny. I don't remember.
I think the only thing they would do is
But
they would
yeah, it's all
shoot
good.
him. Elmer Fudd would kind of shoot him, so there's no guns here, so that's
He
good.
would try
How are you,
shooting
man?
him, but he would
Yeah, he would try
somehow.
shooting him. How's life? How are you doing, man?
Alhamdulillah, man, it's all good.
So, like I said, this episode we're going to talk about dealing with COVID-19 specifically from your point of view as a doctor. And before we get into this, just give me a brief introduction about yourself.
My name is Dr. Sameer. I'm at UT Tumkur, and I'm currently pursuing PG in anesthesia and critical care from Rajaraja Institute of Medical Sciences in Bangalore. So yeah, I'm 23 years old, and what else do you want to know?
I mean, that's good enough for me.
I've
That was
been
just a
working
brief.
in the COVID. I've been in the COVID duty for about 4 months now. Yeah. So yeah, that's about it.
I was going to bring up the post that you published just to give the viewers some more background, and I'm going to read it out here. This is something you wrote. You said, as the COVID cases are ever so gradually decreasing in our hospital, I've taken the time to pull out a few pictures of where I was in the past 6 months. It started with getting used to the blue polymer bag we were put into for hours, put into a room filled with the most critical patients in the hospital, the ICU, leapfrogging through multiple books, revising topics from fluids to ventilation to electrolytes to ACLS protocols. We were gradually being put into gears of the hospitals as small working parts. We fit slowly and are still molding to the shell. The days flew by, and after multiple shifts of the COVID duties, we turn on the news to see our hospital being nominated for being one of the best private institutions handling COVID in the country. Okay, so first of all, congratulations on that. And we're going to obviously get deep into this. But I use, whenever we have this discussion about the pandemic, I ask everyone this generic question, but I'm always very amazed by the responses because everyone has something interesting to say. But where were you when you first heard about the coronavirus? What were you doing? What were your first thoughts? And just tell me that story.
Okay, so it was back in my extensions in my internship. Okay, so I skipped a couple of days during my actual postings. So they didn't give me my completion for the intern in my previous UG undergraduate course, right? In that we have something called an intern, and I didn't get my completion, so I had an extra 13 days. No, actually it was a month, but reduction with CLs and all that, etc. I had I had to do my internship till Feb 13th. But my visa was about to expire. You know, we stay abroad, right? So like, the visa was about to expire, and I had to go on an urgent basis to Saudi Arabia to renew my visa. So at that time, it was like coronavirus was like some 1-2 cases maybe in Italy, US. That's about it. You know, that time it was very mild. Nobody actually cared because they're in India. So I go there, and the first time I, got to know that this is some serious shit is when I was in my ihram. I was going to Makkah to perform my umrah, And the guards at the checkpoint, they stopped my dad and me, and my dad was in his north. I was in the ihram, right? So they stopped me and they're like, so you can't proceed further. I'm like, why? Why can't I proceed further? And they're like, the has been shut down because of coronavirus, and you can't go inside home. I'm
This
like,
was back in
why go
February.
back? I came all the way back in February. Yeah, February 8th.
Oh wow.
February 8th or 3rd, I can't remember. It was one of the two. I think February 3rd. February 3rd. So they told me this, and I stripped down my haram there only. I had an extra spare pair of clothes in my car. Pulled that out into the bathroom. I had a change, and I was in my pajamas and my t-shirt, and they allowed me inside. As long as I didn't have an ihram, I was allowed inside. I don't know how that stopped the coronavirus, but yeah. So I went inside, I did my tawaf, come back, and did my Vidai tawaf also that day itself, because since there's no Umrah being allowed, I uh, did that also, and I come back. And, that was the only exposure to the word coronavirus that I had that time, apart from the news. Like in actual person saying it, that was the only time. Then I come back here and I continue my internship, because it was supposed to go till 13th. I requested my professors to extend it a little more and give something in the middle. So I went and I came back, and the coronavirus, the fever kind of thing, not the fever, like you can try and say it, the whole.
Yes, yes, doctor, I
The,
concur. Yes.
yeah, I did this out. Okay, I did this out. So yeah,
Yeah.
the whole feeling of the virus was okay, and everyone was getting about it. We actually had one patient, all right. She was a pregnant lady who delivered, and after that, she had developed breathlessness. So at the time, to my or bad luck, I don't know, was posted in TB and chest disease.
Wait, Samir, can you stop for a minute? And can you just repeat what you said, because your voice is kind of breaking? Like, start from the pregnant lady.
Yeah, so she had delivered 2 days ago, and she's been having breathlessness. There was no history of fever, no headaches, nothing else suggestive of coronavirus. And at the time, we weren't suspecting coronavirus, very honest. Especially in a country like India, just picking up, like 3, 4 cases, maybe somewhere in the north, probably Delhi, Mumbai side, it was picking up quite a bit. But back in Karnataka, it was not so. There were like one case, maybe 2 cases at the most at the time, as I remember. And this lady, she had developed breathlessness, and department that I was posted at, which was respiratory medicine, CBNHS. And I used to go have rounds. We have to do rounds. She was admitted to the ICU, and we have to do rounds for the patients, right? So I used to go see her every day with a proper N95. It had that filter. Usually the filters, they're not like some after a certain period of days, the filters don't are not effective. So it's always better to have a mask without a filter, like something like this, like plain mask N95. Yeah. So at that time, nobody was taking it seriously. My professors and all, one of them didn't even wear a mask, and he was like standing close to her. We have to drain down in her lungs, and we had to remove the drain, everything. And she got discharged, and she went home. Everything was fine. And it was Feb the 16th. Okay. Actually, my internship was extended to Feb 18th. But on Feb 16th, I was like, sir, they're planning on Sunday. That Sunday, I think there was a shutdown. The whole, the whole of the, I mean, the whole country was about to shut down for a day on G requested, saying that fight the virus will finish in 21 days. Nice. And yeah, that was his plan. And the whole was about, I'm like, sir, there's no guarantee that it'll open up on Monday. So let me just finish all my formalities and go back. I'll come back and I'll work. I'll finish my duties till 18th. But I want to go on 16th and get the formalities finished, completed for my degree, so that there's no delay in getting my. And allowed me to do that. They were nice people. They allowed me to do that. And I got my degree and everything. I got my registration done to the State Medical Council, and everything was done that day. The next day we end up that, not the next day, the next week, the Monday we find out that like slowly they shut down everything, and it's going in for a complete lockdown. So on 18th, I think Saturday or Friday, I don't remember. One of the 2 days, I had my internship and I was ready to go home. And I was like, okay, and then Sunday came, and then the whole thing, the whole tree got locked down, and it continued and continued and continued, and I had to stay in the hospital for 2 extra months.
You had to stay in the hospital for?
2 extra months because the lockdown, right? There was no mobilization. I was afraid to go.
Yeah.
The people are
Yeah,
beating
yeah.
people up. Like, why to take the even though I had a home here and everything, hostel itself for around 2 months. My counseling and everything happened in and got allotted a seat also. So in my head, I was okay. I'm going from one hostel to another hostel, wherever it will be. But by God, it got close to my house. In fact, it's the nearest medical college to my house, Rajarajeshwari. So yeah, I'm staying in my home.
So what kind of surprises me is
And
when
as
you were here
the
back in.
coronavirus kept progressing those months,
No, sorry, you were saying?
the coronavirus kept progressing those 2 months. So over time, it got to a point where we really step out of the house. Like not here. Here it's secluded. This part of Bangalore, it's a little far away from the main city. So it's a bit better here, but even here, people aren't wearing masks very properly. And anywhere in Bangalore, especially at that time, people were very ignorant. They were like, "What coronavirus? What will happen? It's just fever. It'll be a little flu, and it'll go off. Nothing to be serious about. Nothing to be worried." And even I mean, not that I didn't get seriously. I had masks and everything, but I didn't go out anywhere. I was friend. I didn't go to my grandmother's. And it's been over 8 months that I've been to my grandmother's house actually. Since once I started duties, we started on July the 2nd, and the classes took for a month or two. We were kept under non-COVID, as in uh, non-COVID patients only were allowed to see. So in those 2 months, we were given a little bit of training from our seniors regarding the village. And after that, we were posted to the COVID duties, where we actually got to know about the seriousness of the disease and how bad it really is, and what complications might arise from it. It was horrible. The first time we saw it was like you might think that it's just a flu. You might get a little breathless. That's all. It'll be fine. But it's not so. It's like really, really bad actually. You can't even tell when a patient might code, because the coronavirus, it has a tendency of thickening blood, along with it's called heat concentration. It thickens the blood. Along with that, it also has some certain. It plays a role in certain platelet aggregation factors and clotting factors. It enhances these mechanisms, so the clotting takes place very easily. So because of this, there might be small blood clots in your blood vessels, have your brain or to your heart, or anywhere basically. Kidney, brain, lungs, heart are the main problem. Kidney embolism, it's called, wherein it's like a heart attack, but it's blocked somewhere else. If it goes to the heart, it'll be a cardiac embolism. It's really bad. Like if the clot moves and goes somewhere and blocks one of the arteries, right, the system of the body has been hampered, been lost. Like it can't pump effectively. So you can die from a heart attack, you can die from breathlessness, you can die from so many other causes with corona. It's really hard to decipher it at the moment, even what causes
That's
that.
Yep, you're saying, sorry.
No, that's it. It's really hard to decipher what causes that. It can affect the
Yeah,
kidneys. Yeah, it's multi-organ system dysfunction kind of syndrome.
that's something I'll get to, like, as one of the questions I've prepared. But basically, coming back to the whole your story where you were when you first heard of the virus, it's interesting that you mentioned that you weren't allowed to perform ihram back in February because the lockdown did not happen in Saudi Arabia until March, and I did not know in Makkah they were implementing those protocols
There was
back in
no
February
lockdown.
time.
We were moving freely. I came into Saudi Arabia and we were moving free. I was moving freely around with my dad, but the Kaaba as such, the Kaaba as such was a kind of restrict movement itself over there was restricted. You could see not allowed the outsiders, as in the tourism, like Hajj and Umrah people, like only
Yeah,
those people were there who were actually performing Umrahs. All the localites were not actually.
yeah,
So
that's interesting because even when I came here and back in the first the second week of March, I came here, and right when I came here, I came with the last flight from UAE to from Dubai to Saudi. That was the last flight I was operating because they had suspended all the flights. So I came then, and I'd left mid of my
okay,
semester
lucky.
because I was in my last semester. So I just left everything and I came here.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that's the first time you heard of the virus. And also, you kind of already talked about this, but maybe you have something more to add on to this. This transition that you experienced from being somebody who studied medicine finally and is now a doctor to someone who is now going to deal with the pandemic. Talk to me about that. Like, what was that experience like? Like, you're a new doctor, but I don't think every doctor's first day on the job is dealing with something on a global scale. So, like, what was that like?
I looked at it that way. I mean, the transition and all, it just kind of happened. But yeah,
Also, one request,
being
Samir,
a
can you speak
student
slow
now
because your connection
reminiscing
kind
back.
of break? Just a request. Can you speak a little slow because your connection keeps breaking? So just speak a little slow.
All right, all right. As I was saying, and I never saw it in this way, transitioning from a guy that didn't know anything to a guy that's going to handle a global pandemic. I never looked at it that way, actually. But yeah, when I think back when I was a student, and I kind of laugh at, how little I knew about everything and how far I've come. That is something that I'm, proud of in a way. But yeah, as far as the pandemic is concerned, my first day with whole pandemic, when I was posted my first day on the COVID duty, I had to deal with a lot of shit involving, let's just say, one patient. There's this guy. Okay, I'll tell you the whole story. This man, when I was doing, see, inside the ICU, we do a quick round once. Like, we see if all the patients are stable. If somebody needs immediate attention, we give it to them at the earliest. I mean, right then. Otherwise, we take a quick round. If it's stable, we go for the detailed rounds, as in, how is his investigations, how is he been doing since yesterday. First, we see how he's doing right now at the moment. We how since yesterday what all has changed, how he can is better. We go for detailed rounds after that. So during the quick rounds, I see a patient. He's not allowing the sister to take blood for investigations. Is not allowing her to do anything. I go there. I'm like, "What happened to you, Tata?" He's like, "No, let me go. I just want to go." And as I said, COVID. I think staying in the hospital for so long, like, it's not like something that will go off in 3 days or 2 days, right? 15 days to completely come down and you test negative. So till that time, especially the 7th, 12th day, this is the danger piece. This is where most of the complications that have been recorded are statistically proven to have happened mostly at this time. 15 days or something, the patients stay unless they have a request on the discharge on request or something, wherein they say, I don't I'm, I want to leave the hospital, just let me go. And then they are with us. They're going to stay with us for a period of minimum of 12 to 15 days. Okay, so that much time in an ICU. Some patients don't even see the ICU. They just come to the wards, they get treated, and they discharged. No issues. Wards are free. Like, you can walk around, you can eat, you can talk, you can. I mean, you can go to the bathroom. But ICU is not such. The ICU is somewhere where you have to stay in a bed for 24 hours. You just lay in bed, and it's intensive, right? So maybe you'll have a mask attached to your face, you'll have a ventilator attached to you. I mean, you might have a tube down, but at that point you won't have consciousness. So mostly a ventilator with an NIV mask, or a different kind of mask, basically, which you require in order to breathe, which if you remove, you might even code. So the patients staying there for so long with the mask on, without, if they have to poop in wet pants, or they're given diapers or something, or they are catheterized. Okay, and it's really hard staying there for 15 days. I mean, I can see where they're coming from, but sometimes it's really difficult to manage them. Like, they get crazy, they get angry. They're like, just let me go now. I've done. If anyhow, even if they put me or you in that situation, even we would react in the same way. But yeah, that day it was my first day, and the guy was just like, no, just let me go, just let me go. Then we're like, see, you give us the blood, we won't disturb you for like 2-3 hours at least. If you don't give us the blood, we will simply take it out of you. We don't have a choice. We'll hold you down. But what do you want I do? And he's like, okay, I'll do it. You don't disturb you for 3 years. Okay, cool. Actually, he was restrained. Okay, like they had put so during the blood procedure, they had removed the restraints and they left it like that. The old man had fallen asleep. So we go around. I mean, the quick rounds was over. This guy was, how he was maintained. Like we took out the investigation, blood for investigation, and the guy fell asleep. Okay, cool. I went around for the detailed rounds, and I finished all the detailed rounds. I come back to this guy for detailed rounds. Right? He's not there. I'm like, the fuck? Where did this guy go? I go to the brother. I'm like, brother, did you see the? He's like, yeah, sir. He's in that ICU. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm coming from that patient. Patient is not on the bed. He gets up. Like, this is a huge because usually patients do not move from their beds. They're not supposed to move, right? So the patient is not on the bed. Where is the patient? First day. This is my first fucking day. I'm going around and I see. Wait, am I allowed to swear? Bleep that out or?
Well, I
Should I
appreciate
refrain?
if you refrain profanity, but it's okay. Like, it's fine.
Cool. So anyhow, the guy, I'm searching for him frantically, right? Patient is what the hell? I get pissed off. Like I go around looking with a blanket on it on the floor in an ICU next to another guy. I go there, I'm like, what the fuck? I look at him, it's him, he's sleeping on the floor, and he's like, I won't go back to my bed. I'm like, why are you here? He's like, I want to go back. I'm like, I'm bored of that place. I'm like, he doesn't have the oxygen mask. He's got everything thrown it, and he's come here and slept. He had a central line here. He's removed that also, thrown it, and come. So bleeding from here, and he's on the floor. It's all blood everywhere around him, and he's just, I won't come. I'm like, dude,
This is
like,
like
I won't come. Like,
this is a scene that was cut out from Munna Bhai, basically.
bro, Munna Bhai is nothing, dude, compared to the shit. Dude, I've seen patients brushing their teeth, man. They remove their mask, go to the bathroom and brush their teeth. I come around and I didn't want to. Anyhow, wait. First, this guy, right? I tell him, get up, you have to go, you need oxygen. He's like, no, if I die, let me die here. I don't, but I'll die here. I won't go to that bed. Then we had to literally lift him up. 4 people had to lift and push him on the bed and then tie him up. Then give him the mask to ventilation. Shit, it was horrible. And this other lady, she right, so she was like a little crazy already. Went into, like complete. It's like a delusion of sorts. It's called delusion of some sort. I don't remember which one. Lady is over 50. She wanted to brush her teeth every day.
Start over the lady story because your voice broke. Start over the lady story. She wanted to brush her teeth. I understand. Then what happened?
Yeah, she she thought of herself as some model or something, and she's over 50 old, right? And she's like, can you remove my mask? I'm like, why? I want to brush my teeth. I'm like, no, it's okay, you don't need to brush your teeth. You can continue on this. We'll see if you can be able to handle it, and then mask. She's like, no, I want to brush my teeth. I'm like, you don't need to brush your teeth. We're not like, the thing is, there's something called non-invasive ventilation. Usually, when we ventilate
Non-invasive
a
what?
patient, ventilation.
Okay, yeah.
Ventilation. So usually, when we say on the ventilator, we mean that we've put a tube down his throat and we're pushing air through it. Essentially, that's what a ventilator is. But something called non-invasive ventilation is when we have very tight-fitting mask around the face, very tight with straps and everything. It's very tight. A lot of pressure involved, and it just pressurizes into the lungs again, opens up the lungs. Alveoli open up. Alveoli, they open up when there's a lot. in old people, debilitated people, people with lung diseases, these collapse. Imagine the lung as a polythene bag. Okay, without the air in the bag, it just collapses. So when you push a little bit of air, it will keep it open. So that's what we try to do with on in the ventilation. We try to open up the collapsed alveoli so that is the exchange of gas and the saturation patient. Because in COVID, what happens? It primarily attacks the lungs. Not only, but yeah, majorly attacks the lungs in a way that self-destruction, you can say, of the lung tissue. And there's a lot of fibrosis. Then it's supposed to be spongy, but it becomes fibrous. It doesn't stretch enough. The stretching capability of the lung is lost. And on the X-rays, if you see, you'll be able to make out like it's supposed to be a shadow, like a black color on the white thing, because there's air here. Air is always black on an X-ray. But you can see because of extensive fibrosis, even 22-year-olds I've seen with only this much remaining, this much. Rest of it is white. This is white, this much on both sides. That is it. 22-year-old, 23-year-old, 24-year-old, three 20-year-olds seen and who have passed away inside the ICU. One of them in my shift itself. It was really bad. The patients were really young. That's what I had the conception that young people are immune to this, but now I'm really confused. I don't know what they had. No comorbidities even, like they didn't have any diabetes, no tension, nothing, no smoking, no history of anything suggestive of some kind of habit or any genetic disorder. They were completely healthy adult who suddenly contracted COVID and went into a state that is so bad.
And how long did they survive in that isolation, in the sense that they were tested positive, and then they were asked to stay in the hospital for like how long, and when did they pass away?
One of them, he got tested when he got symptoms, but because interaction with the patients, because when they come in, they're in a critical state in the ICU. First they go to the wards, right? In the wards they stay there a few days, and if they go bad, they come to the ICU. So he had stayed for 2 days. In the ICU itself, he was there for around 8 to 19 days, if I'm not wrong. He might have stayed for more than 22 days before he joined the hospital. It got admitted to the hospital. So yeah, that guy, he was that 23-year-old that passed away. He was the first person that I had to give, and the guy was as old as me, 23. I mean, that was a little shocking for me. But the fun part is, when I was doing CPR, one of my seniors had, I was giving compressions, and there were two nurses, two brothers. One of them was helping me, as in, I was doing compressions, and he was giving the injections I was asking him to give. And the other one, I asked him, we have to 30 compressions, it is, check. We give hundreds and then check. So around 3 cycles, after 3 cycles, we check for pulse, because it's ineffective if you give only 30. We have to give 100 compressions, count roughly 3 cycles, right? So after 3 cycles, we check. After 2 rounds of this, as in after 200 compressions, I asked that brother to take over. He's a brother, but emergency situation, we have to rely on them also, because they know, they've been trained in this. But the thing is, the PPE, right? It literally covers the whole thing. First of all, you wear a coverall suit that covers you from here, the whole thing till here. So hood, everything. Then you wear shoe covers, then 3 layers of gloves. Along with that, you wear a face shield, mask, and a hood. Like the whole thing with a literally, it's really difficult to breathe. First mask, then the face shield, then the hood, and it's airtight. We tape ourselves over here so that no virus can come in. So whatever we have to do with lot of precision on something. So the CPR 200 compressions is a little difficult, right? 300 compressions. So I asked brother to take over, and the guy, he did like some 20 or 30 compressions, and then he started. I was like, no, it's okay, move, I'll continue. I started continuing, and my C comes in, okay, and he's like, Samir, what happened? I'm like, sir, the patient did, and this is the scene. Like, I explained him everything as uh, he saw the case, and like eventually, okay, no matter what we did, the guy couldn't come out of it. He was already intubated. He already gotten arrested once. I mean, cardiac arrest once, and next he intubated him at that point, and he survived that time. But the next time, as in my shift, when he coded, he and he was declared dead. All of that was okay, but afterwards, when I was about to leave, my sir calls me. He's like, Samir, come here. Like, what happened? When you were doing CPR, one brother was there. Where was the other brother? Like, the one brother is the one that giving injections. Okay, I'm like, yeah, he was there. Where was the other one? Like, he gave 30 compressions, then he would have been there, right? I'm giving compressions. Then he's like, when I come in, I he's standing facing a wall, doing absolutely nothing. He just went to a corner and he's just standing there like this. No? Okay.
No, your
Hilarious at
voice
the
just
time.
keeps
Okay. It's an
your
emergency
voice just keeps
situation. The
breaking. So
guy just
that's why
goes to.
I'm trying to grasp it because your voice keeps breaking. That's the problem. Yeah.
Till
So,
what point
but
did you
that's
hear?
I heard that the doctor shows up and he's like, Sabir, what happened? And then you're talking about two brothers, right? So one of them was helping you out. The other guy was just staring at a wall basically throughout the entire scene. Is that what
No,
happened?
no. One of the injections, the other one that helped me with the near
Yeah.
the door. Between the door and the
Yeah.
wall, there's a gap, right? He's just
Okay.
standing in that corner and he's staring down at the wall. And my senior comes. His name is Ashwin sir. Ashwin sir goes, brother, what happened? He's like, one nimsha, sir. I'll tell you. 1 minute. 1 minute. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. 1 minute. He's just standing there doing nothing. He got exhausted, I believe. They're
But
old.
that's
They're like 35,
yeah.
40 years old.
But what kind of like again like what disturbs me is that this guy who you're talking about was just 23 years old, and that was kind of my
Yeah,
next
yeah.
question, which
That
was
is,
like because you mentioned how there really is no way to decipher or understand COVID even right now, even after so many months have passed. But let's say hypothetically, if I
I mean,
feel
we
like I
can't
have COVID,
decide on what. Uh-huh.
like let's say like
We can't
I
decide
feel feverish.
on whom it will be worse and whom it will be, mild, and who it will be more, and who will, like, who might die. You can't really tell that.
No, so like here's the situation, right? Let's say I feel feverish one day, right? I have a headache and I
Mhm.
feel warm and I have this feeling maybe
Right?
maybe I'm positive, right? So I walk into the hospital and I come to
Right.
you and like, hey, listen, I think I want to get a test done. Tell me the protocol from me walking in and
Right.
telling you that I think I might be infected to what are the steps are taken and how does it unfold accordingly.
See, first off, wear a mask. Whether you think you're infected, whether you're not, whatever the situation is, mask. Even if you're inside the hospital, if you're not on your oxygen, if you're not needing any oxygen, you're maintaining well without oxygen support, if you're maintaining well on room air, just wear your mask and keep, because you don't want cross infections from other patients. Okay, first off is mask. Mask is essential. After that, yeah, just go to the hospital, tell them that you have these symptoms, and you just want to rule out COVID. And it's a very simple, they'll there's actually in India there's two types of tests. I don't know, the first one, it's not very reliable. Okay, it's called the rapid antigen test or rat test. So the rapid antigen test, what it does is tests for antibodies against the virus. So supposing you come in contact with any disease, let's say, your body develops antibodies to it almost immediately. As in, it depends on disease to disease, but at least in COVID, within the first day, you'll have certain kinds of antibodies that will be produced, and those will work in that test, the rapid antigen test. It'll show in that test, right? And the next thing we do is something called PCR, which is polymerase chain reaction. So we take a throat swab and we check the DNA of it, and we multiply the DNA using the technique, and we see if there are those wild strands of DNA where we get. that is more reliable. It is, I think, the gold standard is CT. So even if there's a slight chance of false negative on the PCR, if you do a CT, that will be confirmatory. False negative, if you get positive either in rat or if you get positive in rat, there's ideally need for a PCR, but it's better to get a PCR done. So PCR is always the better option.
So
And
just a second. So it's always better to get a PCR done as opposed to a rat.
correct.
And you mentioned, how long does it take for the results to come out of the PCR analysis?
PCR, it depends again on the setup, on the number of people that have with you, on the mission as well.
What did you say? Could you repeat that?
Usually it will be around 1 day. Like if you give your swab today, they'll give you results by tonight or maybe tomorrow.
Okay, so let's say they give the results and they say, if you're negative, then you don't have any other protocols to follow than the ones you're already following. But let's assume that you are positive. What's next then?
It's better to, quarantine yourself first. You can get to know, you can, if you need hospital, not, you can judge your own. If headache, you can manage. Breathlessness, you cannot. Okay, as soon as you feel, there's a chance of being breathless, if different protocol, I would suggest, if you're a young patient, you can delay it by a little bit, but not too much. Ideally, they'll give you, over here in India, the government has taken up the initiative to give the medications and everything. In hospital, everything is for free. So once you get test positive, you are given something called a COVID kit. There will be like multivitamins, zinc, and I don't know if they've put, but usually they used to give before. So they'll give you a certain number of tablets to be continued around 14 days. You can try that, and if you get worse, you can always get admitted to a hospital. Supposing you need oxygen support or something, it's always better to be at a hospital wherein everything is to have immediately. Actually, my did I mention that to you, Shok?
What? Your what?
Grandmom, my own grandmom, my mom's mom.
Yeah.
Had tested positive. I think 2 weeks back.
No, I don't think you mentioned this. I'm not sure. Maybe you did. I'm not sure though, but yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was around a month ago, cousin got a fever. Like they were following all protocol, but the only thing was my uncle going out for work, like normal work. I don't know. Maybe it came from that. Maybe someone else. I don't know. But anyhow, my cousin, he's 14 years old, developed a fever. I asked about symptoms related to COVID. He didn't mention any on the first day, but the second day he told he had a lot of body ache along with. So, and one more, my uncle, he's a little, he doesn't. Let's just say he doesn't trust doctors. You don't need that. Your body can heal itself, and he has his own philosophy, right? So very open about telling it right now to my uncle, it could be this. But I was on the lines of it. I was checking every day. I was calling him every day and asking if this symptom is there. What symptom now? Are you better? Are you worse? Is the feeling? Do you have taste? Do you have smell? I used to ask him all of this. Alhamdulillah, good. He recovered from the disease, and as soon as he recovered, now that my uncle is sick, I was asking him every day, he should it's normal fever, it's cold because of rain, blah 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 blah. I told okay. Until the third day when he told me that his taste sensation, that was like 99. I told him, just get a test tomorrow. Don't need the test. They're doing some, they're creating false positives, and COVID started. There's been a lot of rumors going out about going on about the healthcare system and how people are trying to make profits out of it. That all of that might be true, but I wouldn't tell them that, right? I told to get and they did. I mean, he didn't agree immediately, but when I told the hospital fees taken over by the government in case you're positive, yeah, he did. So, did you hear all?
I heard most of it. I was trying to focus because your voice breaks and then it gets blank, so I was just nodding. But yeah, basically, you mentioned how your uncle has a different philosophy when it comes to medicine, and then how his son was the one who was having those initial symptoms you mentioned, right? And then later, after a while, your uncle started experiencing symptoms himself, and eventually he
Correct.
did get himself tested, right? When you told him about the fees being covered.
Yeah, eventually he did. After I mentioned that bed of like you can get the bed easily, and the treatment, whatever the treatment is, it'll be free of cost, and the hospital bed will be allotted to you by the government. So in case we need the hospital bed, it's always better to keep ready. If you have a positive report, there's something called a BU number that is being given now in Bangalore, which means BBMP, some number, identification number. Okay, if you're COVID positive, so here you can book a bed online in any of the hospital. You can block it. It's so called block it, and you can shift the patient that is blocked and confirmed by the hospital. So whichever hospital it is, it has a certain number of beds that are reserved only for COVID patients. So you can get one of those beds in case you have that BU number, and it will be free of cost. Free of cost as in zero, nothing. It will be you won't be charged. If the hospital is very private, it's very corporate. It might charge you certain fees, but it obviously will not be as much as it would charge you if you had without a difference, as in without any difference. Now from the government, and it'll be your
So just to recap the hypothetical situation, because why I asked you that is 2 days back, actually, what had happened with me was I was meeting this person, right? I spent some time with him. And then at the end of that meeting, this person tells
with
me, by
who?
the way, I was with someone, right? And at the end of this hangout, this person tells me, by the way, I skipped work today because I was feeling a little sick in the morning, you know. And then I looked at him. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
why the hell are you telling me this at the end of our hangout? Basically, that you skipped work and you weren't feeling like sick in the morning. Why did you tell me that in the beginning? And when I went back home, I started feeling like my head. I started getting a headache, and my body started feeling like a little warm. And then I was like, okay, is this? Am I? Have I been infected? I'm like, let me go to sleep. Woke up the next morning, was better, but I still felt a little uneasy, you know. And now this is the second morning. So really, my question was I overreacting, or do you think I should get a test done? Or because, like you mentioned, you don't see the symptoms like in a specific order, right? Like it's not like in day 2 you'll experience this, or day 3 you'll experience this, or there's no specified range. So what
Pinpoint, but yeah, there is a certain order.
what's the order?
First, you'll develop, most often than not, first it'll be
Yeah.
the cough. Okay, dry cough,
Okay.
followed by fever, followed
Yeah.
by probably diarrhea. And see, again,
Okay.
some people don't even exhibit any symptoms apart from the fever. Some people don't
Yeah.
even exhibit fever, they're silently positive.
Yeah.
So you can never tell. Did the person cough you like silently
Sorry, did the person?
cough in front of you
No,
while
the person is not positive. But then I was like, okay, but what the hell? He skipped work, So why didn't he tell me that? So maybe he might have been positive. I don't know. He was not. From my knowledge and his knowledge, he's not positive,
yeah,
and
you
he's
can
not coughing or
actually
anything.
never tell. So it's always better to be wearing a mask, even
We
indoors.
do wear mask.
Now I'm staying alone, so that's why my mask is off. Even then, it's at a harm. In case I have to open the door or something, I always wear my mask and open it. I don't open it bare mouth.
No, but based on the symptoms that I've
Take
told you, would you
precautions.
advise me to get checked?
Mm-hmm.
Would you advise me to get checked, or do you think I'm just overreacting and I should just give it some more time?
I advise you to stay a little bit longer. I mean, do you still have the fever? Have you checked
No.
it?
No, I didn't check my temperature or anything. I was warm. Like the first day, I felt really warm. Like after that, now I don't know if that was me tired or me psychologically, like deluding myself that oh my god, what the hell's happening. But I it could be, for many different reasons, because right now my sleep cycle is also messed up. But yeah, I feel a lot better today. But having that conversation with you, especially because how unpredictable this disease is,
Right, right.
you are not only a risk to yourself, but you're a risk to people around you, which is even more dangerous.
Family, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, your family. So that's what I was worried about. So I actually told my dad this, and my dad was like, stay calm, wait for a couple of days, see how you feel, and if you want to get yourself checked, then you should get yourself checked.
Look out the symptoms, okay. Mainly loss of smell, loss of taste is, what I feel is a definitive, that this is it. This is COVID, is what I feel.
Yeah,
Once the loss of taste, loss of sensation develops after the diarrhea, if it's the fever, cough and cold fever, diarrhea, the loss of taste and smell is almost like towards the fifth or seventh day it develops. So, yeah, my advice to you is, wear your mask. And do you have instruments at home? Thermometer, pulse oximeter, anything?
yeah, I think I would digital thermometer. Yeah,
Yeah, just check your temperature. Most often than not, our body we feel something, but it's flat. So just check temperature once whenever you feel feverish, and
yeah,
do a serial. Once you find out that you have a fever, do it every say 8 hours throughout the day, and you can contact me regarding that later. We'll see to it later. But I personally, I don't think that you have contracted COVID at the moment. But let's see. I mean, let the days go on, and if symptoms develop, you think of getting a test done. Otherwise, no
yeah,
risk of even going to a hospital at this point is very, because people like wear the mask properly. They don't wear a tight fit, and they don't wear the type of mask. And some people are just blatantly ignorant. They don't care.
yeah.
So it's always better to avoid hospitals as much as possible during these times until at least a vaccine develops.
This is such a, like a paradox in a way. And since you mentioned it, something my dad was saying also, he said like, okay, this is something you think you have, but let's say God forbid you don't have it, but since you go to the hospital, then you contract it. You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
but again,
That is
it's a dilemma really.
that is
But yeah,
possible.
I think what you mentioned though, it does make sense. Like, keep monitoring your temperature every 8 hours, as you said, and if it stays consistently that you have a fever, then you should get yourself checked. Yeah, you mentioned this on your post. The hospital you work at, right? It was on the list of it ranked pretty high on the list of hospitals that were able to contain the virus or dealt with the
Yeah, it
virus
was
very well.
nominated as private hospital in the country battling COVID. Something called Health Giri Awards by I don't know which band. It was called Giri Awards, and it was shown on Aaj Tak and another channels.
That's a big accomplishment, and I guess what I want to ask you is, what do you think your hospital did differently for it to get on that list?
The sheer number of patients that were admitted into our hospital, I think, is what cut it. We had over 700 patients when I went in for my first duty, and there were a lot of ICU admissions. The ICU was always full. Up until my last duty, it was always full. Right, I used to take calls and tell there's no bed in the ICU, we can't admit any patient. Thankfully, from last duty, the number of ICU days, the number of overall patients in the hospital has come down. News. It means that the severity of the disease is not as much as it was prior to this. Especially since the winter is coming around, there's be a lot of infections in the future. So we
Well,
still are not out of it, and but yeah, we are doing good so far. But we might get back on the COVID, have another round of COVID soon. But
yeah,
let's hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst.
yeah. I mean, that was actually my final question, which was, back in March, right? All of us had this assumption that hopefully by September things would die down at least. And right now, the latest news is that the second wave is beginning, and countries are going back
A lot of
on
countries are
lockdown,
facing the second wave. Mm-hmm.
and they're going back on lockdown. And like you mentioned, also there are a lot of people who are very ignorant. They're very reckless. They're not wearing masks. They're not taking the precautions. I think people have developed a fatigue also, like in the sense that, oh, I just want this thing to get over now. Like I want to go back to my life. And like, what do you tell these people? What message would you send out to these people as a doctor, or as just someone who wants to be sensible and wants to contain this pandemic as best as he can? What do you want to tell these people?
I was going through the city as I always do to the hospital, and I thought of getting a speaker phone, like one of the ones that the police have on their smartphone. I mean, on their cars, like speaker
Like a
phone.
megaphone.
Be like, just doing that shit, just sit in one corner and rap people not wearing the mask to a point that they should be so important to be wearing a mask at the moment. I can't even imagine how I can't express how difficult. I mean, how angry I am at the people that don't wear or don't wear it properly. Some of them they wear like
Yeah, below the nose or something.
no, they just do this. They don't. Yeah, this is it on their chin. They're protecting their beard, ladies and gentlemen. Some people
Even
do.
when you're Yeah, some people like take it off when they're talking outside. You still advise them to just keep it on throughout the conversation.
Bro, I saw a guy taking it off while seizing. That was the whole point of the mask. He just imagine.
That's weird, dude.
As soon as I wear a mask, my glasses fog up, right?
Yes.
Yeah, imagine that multiplied with that food and everything. We're able to see, okay? Even IV cannulation gets difficult. But I wipe it this with my head, like outside with my head, and then I see again. Like you rub it against the. I
Do
don't
do
wear
gloves
gloves.
help? Do gloves help? Should people wear gloves too, or like what?
I mean, as long as you have a good sanitizer everywhere. I mean, one in your car, keep one at the entrance of the house. So every time you either go out of your car, I mean, when you, I mean, come in your car, you use your hand sanitizer, and as you go out or come in the house, you use your hand sanitizer. I mean, sanitizers are important. If you don't have enough money for it, just go to a mall where they've kept those dispensers, fill it in, and for the lesser, viewership. Yeah, just steal it from a mall. Who cares? It's from the government to the people. We pay the government.
When do you think this thing is gonna get over?
Uh, my guess is mid next year, maybe. Hopefully, inshallah. If
Inshallah,
not
man.
sooner.
Because if not sooner, yeah. Because everyone is just holding out for a vaccine right now, but it's come to a point where I don't even know if that's a good strategy anymore. Waiting for a vaccine, because that's something we've been telling ourselves since March, and everyone's been affected with this pandemic
That's
in
the
so many
only
different ways.
strategy we have apart from battling it out loud. The vaccine is the only hope we have. So, I mean, apart from, you know, social distancing and masks and everything else that is going on, the only hope is because people in India don't know distancing, nor do they have the money to buy N95. This is also for free, by the way. Ordered from the hospital, they give us extra wires, which are, which we can keep and use at a later point of time. Uh, it's actually quite expensive. A mask like cost you around 200 to 50 rupees, which is quite expensive for the general population of India. You spend 100 to 300 rupees on something, their ideal idea of spending.
Well, this was a very
So a
informative
lot of
discussion.
them wear homemade masks, like a cloth mask, and I don't know how effective. I really don't, but yeah, and they don't wear that also properly. Also tight. See, you have to seal the mask. This is not enough. You have to press it, not just one, on both sides, so that it forms a proper seal. See this? It should be moving when you breathe.
Yeah. Like should be
Now
kind of like a
you got
vacuum
the
and
proper
like a proper seal. Yeah, I
correct,
understand.
correct. And when you remove it, you don't touch this part. This part is always contaminated. Every time when you remove it from the back
From
and just
the
keep it on the
band.
side.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
true.
the bands. Try to avoid touching the front.
Uh, Anything else?
Nah, bro, that's about it. Do you have anything else?
No, I don't have anything else. I asked all the questions, and I just want to say that mashallah, good job, man. I think your parents should be very proud of you for what you're doing right now, and thanks for taking the time to talk to me about this. I hope you stay positive and test negative. That's what I'll say. So
Alhamdulillah, inshallah. Yeah.
yeah, inshallah, inshallah. Okay, so we've reached the end of the episode. Samir, look into the camera and wave bye to the viewers. So bye, everyone. Bye, guys.
Yes.